My name is Madeline, and at 31 years old, my father handed me the eviction papers and said, "You have 48 hours to get your things out. Your sister owns this house now." I just smiled and agreed. But when she stepped foot in that house, she realized she had made the biggest mistake she's ever made. I'm the one who fixes things. If a pipe hisses at 2 a.m., I'm the one with a wrench. If someone needs a ride from the airport, I'm the one with the coffee and the cup holder. I work at help desk at a hospital, pay my bills, keep my head down. I rent the downstairs unit in my parents' old duplex, the one I basically rebuilt after the flood 2 summers ago. My sister Lily is 27. She's the she'll figure it out kid. Blonde hair, big plans, new plans every month. She speaks in absolutes and gets bored halfway through. Somehow it always lands on me to finish what she starts. I used to think that was love. Now I think it was training. Growing up, Lily got the lead in the school play. I got to run the lights. Lily got a car at 16. I got the lecture about earning things. Lily got she's special. I got she's solid. You can't frame solid, you just carry it. I remember being 9, standing in a hardware store with Dad while he picked screws. He said, "Women like us don't complain, we just hold the line." I thought it was a badge. It was a leash. I didn't move out after college. It wasn't a plan, so much as a drift. Grandpa had left the duplex to Dad for the family. The upstairs needed work. The downstairs was livable, but damp and old. I told Dad I'd stay, do the repairs, and pay rent to help with the mortgage. He nodded like I'd solved his Sudoku. I learned how to float drywall from YouTube. I replaced outlets, found the main shutoff, mapped the breaker panel. I logged everything in a Google sheet: date, cost, hours. Every fix I made me feel more like a person. Lily breezed in and out. "Love what you've done with the place," she'd say, taking leftovers. Mom would pinch my cheek and whisper, "She's trying." Then she'd ask me to transfer $150 for the gas bill because your father's paycheck is weird this month. If my life had a soundtrack, it was the washing machine in my own breath. It wasn't bad. It was just small. I told myself small is safe. On a Tuesday evening in May, I came upstairs to return Dad's socket wrench. The kitchen smelled like lemon cleaner. Lily sat at the table with Mom, tapping her phone. Dad stood by the sink, looking at a manila envelope like it might yell. "Hey," I said, "the outlet in the hall is fixed." Dad didn't say thanks. He looked at my hands, then my face, and cleared his throat. "Madeline, sit." I sat. Lily didn't look up. Mom folded a dish towel in half, then in half again. Dad pulled out papers, thick, official-looking, brittle with staples. He slid them across the table. "You have 48 hours to get your things out," he said, voice flat. "Your sister owns this house now." The words hit like a cold glass of water down my back. Lily finally looked up and gave this amused, tight smile like we were on a game show. "It's nothing personal," she said. "It's timing." I looked at the papers, then at my father's hands, calluses I'd matched since I was a kid. My mouth did something before my brain did. I smiled. I nodded. "Okay," I said. No one moved. In the silence, the fridge hummed. A drop of cleaner ran down the cabinet and made a wet comma on the floor. Mom whispered, "It'll be good for you to spread your wings." She said it like a quote she didn't believe. 48 hours, Dad repeated like he'd practiced the line. I put the wrench on the table, careful, like it could break the room, and said nothing else. It didn't start with those papers. It started years before, when helping turned into funding. After college, I got a job and moved into the downstairs for $600 a month family rent. Market rent was $1,200. I told myself I was lucky. At first, the money went straight to the mortgage. Then, little things started happening. Mom would call. "The tax bill came early. Can you float $300? I'll pay you back." Dad would text, "Roof guy needs a deposit." I put in $500 here, $900 there. I kept receipts. I thought I was being smart. Lily bounced around. Bartending, a marketing internship that was actually selling vitamins, a startup that paid in equity, and pizza. She'd show up with a suitcase and say, "Can I crash for a couple weeks?" A couple weeks became 3 months. "You're a saint," Mom would say to me while handing Lily a set of keys. I loaned Lily $2,200 once for car stuff. She said she'd pay me back next Friday. Then after the wedding, I'm working. Then after my tax return comes in. I kept a note in my phone. Every time I opened that note, I felt small and annoying, so I stopped opening it. The duplex wasn't fancy, but I made it better. I put in new cabinets after the flood when the old ones warped and smelled like old cereal. I called the city myself and fought a $600 abandoned trash fine that wasn't ours. I learned the names of the guys at the hardware store. I became the woman who holds the line. Dad talked about legacy sometimes. He'd stare at the house and say, "This place keeps us together." I asked once, "So, what's the plan when you and Mom retire?" He said, "We'll figure it out." That answer made my stomach feel like a drawer that won't close. In February, Dad's friend died. After the funeral, Dad got quiet and practical. He started sorting papers. I noticed a new folder on his desk. Estate. Something in me sat up. I asked, "Everything okay?" He said, "Just getting ducks in a row." In March, Lily got engaged to a guy named Travis. He wore expensive shoes and said things like, "We're building a brand." At dinner, he took calls on speaker. Dad loved him. Mom said he's a go-getter. I watched him order 2 appetizers and not touch either, and my jaw hurt. April is when the money turned into leverage. The property insurance shot up by $1,300. Dad sent a group text. "Need everyone to contribute to keep the home in the family." Everyone was me. Lily sent a heart emoji. I sent $1,000 with a note. "This drains me." Dad replied, "You're a good daughter." We had our first real fight that month. Lily wanted the upstairs for wedding-themed content. She wanted the living room as a studio. She floated the idea of me moving to a storage room just for a bit. Mom said, "Be flexible, Madeline." Dad said, "It's her time." I said, "It's my home too." No one heard that sentence. 2 weeks before the papers, Lily came to the basement door while I was patching a corner. She stood on the steps and said, "I swear after the wedding, I'll be out." "Travis has this plan." I asked, "What plan?" She said, "He's talking to investors." I said, "For a wedding." She laughed. "You don't get it." The first trigger wasn't even the papers. It was a comment in the car. I was driving Mom to her appointment because Dad had to meet a notary. Mom stared out the window and said, "We always knew you'd be fine." I said nothing. She added, "Lily, she needs more." Like there was a pie and my slice could stretch. The papers came after that. Deed transfer from Dad to Lily, recorded last week. Eviction notice typed up by a paralegal friend. They timed it for a Tuesday because weekends are hectic. They called it clean. It felt like a push down the stairs. That night, I stared at my spreadsheet. $14,870 in materials across 4 years. About 412 hours of labor, according to my bad estimates. Rent paid on time every month for 61 months. I scrolled and felt nothing. Then I thought about the house like a person. I'd been feeding it, dressing it, keeping it warm, and now it wasn't mine to enter. I called Dad. He didn't pick up. I texted Lily. "Can we talk tomorrow?" She replied instantly. "Busy. It's done." Travis followed up with a thumbs up. I didn't sleep. I made coffee and canceled my Netflix like a person packing for a trip. I took a photo of the hallway I painted. I ran my hand along the new post I sanded. It was smooth. For a second, I felt proud, then foolish, then angry, then weirdly calm. In the morning, Dad knocked and opened the door like he always did. "We'll help you pack," he said, like I'd asked. I said, "Don't touch my things." He blinked, surprised. I'd drawn a line on the floor. Then he nodded and left, and the clock started. The family meeting happened on Saturday. Lily wanted a moment before she and Travis took possession. She said those words with a straight face. Mom made lemon bars. Dad put on the polo he wears to serious chats. I wore my work hoodie with drywall dust in the seams. It felt like armor. We gathered in the living room I'd painted twice. Lily held a folder with tabs, each one labeled in pink. Travis leaned back on the couch like he owned gravity. "Okay." Lily started clapping once. "So, this is going to be smooth. We're keeping the tenant." She nodded at me month to month just until we monetize the upstairs. "Then we'll look at market rate." Dad grunted. "Approval." Mom said it's best for everyone. I looked at the lemon bars. I thought, say the thing, not the clever thing, the true thing. "No," I said. Silence. Even the fridge stopped. Lily laughed. "No to what?" "No to being your month-to-month safety net. No to paying for your content dream while you raise my rent. No to packing up my life in 48 hours. Like a bad guest. Dad sat forward. We've made the decision. Don't be dramatic. I'm being specific, I said. I pulled out my own folder, printed emails, receipts, a copy of my lease renewal from last year. I have a signed lease through December. It's legal. You can check. Travis smirked. You can't lease from your family without... It's not from family, I said, tapping a line. It's from the LLC. Dad put the house into that last year to save on taxes. Remember, Dad? Your friend at church drew it up. You signed as manager. I signed as tenant. It auto-renews. 60-day notice. No cause eviction isn't allowed here anymore. It changed last summer. Mom's hand went to her chest. Lily's face went tight. Travis reached for his phone. I don't want to fight, I said, voice steady. But you don't get to take my home and my work and call it legacy. I slid a stack of receipts across the coffee table. Here are materials I paid for, $14,870. Here are bank transfers for insurance and taxes, $6,400. Here are screenshots of messages asking me for help. I helped. You can call it love. I'll call it invoices. Dad stood up. You're making this ugly. I stood too. No, I'm making it true. Lily pointed a manicured finger. You're trying to punish me because Dad chose me for the deed. You always resented me. This is revenge. This isn't about revenge, I said, and it came out calm and low. This is about closure. I let the words sit there. You're adults. Make your choices, but you don't get my silence anymore. My line is here. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your bank. I'm not your free superintendent. Travis started to talk about liability exposure. I held up a hand. If you want me out, follow the law. If you want to talk, talk in writing. No more hallway decisions. Dad's voice came back hard. You ungrateful. After all, I said quietly, and he stopped like I'd pressed a button. Mom whispered, Madeline, please. I looked at her, and my throat hurt. I love you, I said, but I'm done being the one who carries it. Lily tried a new approach, softer. We can do a fair rent. Market rate is $2,000. You can stay for $600. I pay $600 now, I said. Plus, I paid for the cabinets, the outlets, half the roof. Market means you pay me for labor if you want market. Travis scoffed. We'll get a contractor. Great, I said. Make sure he fixes the thing behind the wall you can't see. I pointed to the far corner. Old galvanized line corroded. It'll burst in the next 2 months. Water goes everywhere. The main shutoff sticks. You have to hit it twice. The city will find you for water runoff if it floods the alley. Also, the upstairs bathroom fan is venting into the attic. Mold. You'll want to pull that before your wedding content. Lily's mouth opened and closed. Dad rubbed his forehead. I'll be out on my timeline, I said. Not yours. And when I'm gone, we're square. No more transfers. No more. Can you float us? I won't be in the group chat if it's about money. Who do you think you are? Dad asked. A tenant with a lease, I said. And your daughter? The room swayed with the weight of it. I felt sick and clear at the same time. I'm not fighting you, I added. I'm informing you. Email me. I picked up my folder, left the lemon bars, and walked downstairs. I closed my door. It felt like closing a book. The calls started that night. 9 missed calls from Dad, 5 from Mom, 3 from Lily, 1 from a number I didn't know, Travis's lawyer friend. I put my phone face down and washed dishes slowly like I had all the time in the world. At 8:12 p.m., Lily texted, Okay, we're willing to give you until end of June. New rent, $1,600, starting June 1st. I didn't reply. At 8:40 p.m., Dad texted, We do not want to go to court. Be reasonable. You are breaking your mother's heart. Then, where is the garage door opener? I placed the opener on the counter and took a photo for my records. The next morning, I forwarded my lease to Lily and Dad with a short note. As discussed, I'll vacate by July 31st. Rent remains per lease, $600. Communications in writing. My hand shook. My voice in the email did not. The clock kept ticking, but it belonged to me now. I made a moving budget. Truck $140. Deposit for a new place, $1,200. First month's rent, $1,200. If I could find something small and clean. I listed my couch on Facebook for $80. A guy named Ben picked it up in a truck and said, Heavy. I said, yeah. On Wednesday, the city inspector came for the annual rental check. I let him in. He looked around with a clipboard and said, "You've kept it nice." He failed the property for the upstairs bath fan and a loose handrail. He left a yellow notice on the door, 15 days to fix. 10 minutes later, a bang upstairs. Lily's voice through the floor. "What is this?" Then Travis. "It's a minor thing." Then, "Dad, it's always something." At noon, I got an email from Lily. "We need you to meet the inspector next week for a recheck since you know the systems." I replied, "I won't be handling maintenance. Please contact the contractor." 2 minutes later, "But you live there," she typed. "Being close is not the same as being responsible." Money messages stacked like plates. "Mom, could you spot us $350 for the water bill? We'll send it back Friday." She'd used that Friday before. I wrote, "I can't." I stared at those 2 words for a long time. They kept me up that night and then oddly helped me sleep the next Friday. I toured a studio above a barber shop. The landlord was a tired woman named Patrice who said, "It's not the Ritz, but it's quiet after 7. The windows faced a brick wall. It smelled like pine cleaner and warm dust. It was $1,100. I said, "I'll take it." I put down the deposit with hands that felt too big. Back at the duplex, Lily and Travis showed up with a contractor in gray shorts. I heard them doing owner voice. "We want an open concept here," Lily said upstairs. "You can't say that to a century-old duplex and expect thanks." At 3:17 p.m., the contractor knocked on my door. "You Madeline?" he asked. I nodded. "Where's the main?" I showed him. He tried the valve. It stuck. "Huh?" he said. He hit it once, twice, and it went. Water shipped the pipes. He looked at me. I looked at the timing like a person watching a storm form. Saturday night, a water hammer bang echoed, and then the ceiling over the upstairs hall bubbled. The corroded line blew. White water, loud and angry. I ran up with towels out of habit, then stopped. I dialed Lily. Shut off the main. I said the valve in the closet. Hit it twice. She screamed for Travis. Travis yelled the wrong closet. Dad cursed. Mom cried. I stood still in my doorway, listening to it all land. A minute later, silence, then sobbing. Then Dad's voice in the stairwell. "Madeline." It wasn't the command voice, it was the child voice. "Please." I walked up slow, water pulled. The fresh owner contractor stood on a chair and looked at the ruined plaster like it had betrayed him. Lily stood with mascara smudges. "You knew," she said. "Not a question." "I told you Wednesday," I said, "and last month, and last year." Travis looked at the inspector's yellow paper. "This doesn't even mention this," he said like he'd found a loophole. Dad sat on the bottom step with his head in his hands. I helped them move soaked boxes because I didn't want family photos ruined. I did it without saying, "I told you so." I did it because it was decent. Monday, Lily sent a 500-word email asking me to oversee the repairs this month since I know the vendors. She offered $200. I replied with links to 3 plumbers and my rate, $45 per hour, invoiced weekly. She wrote back, "That's insane." I didn't answer. An hour later, "Fine, but cap it at 10 hours. I scheduled the plumber and told him to bill Lily directly. The plumber came, replaced the line, shook his head, and said to Lily in that voice contractors use for people who haven't listened, "Whoever told you this place was turnkey wasn't your friend." The bill was $1,140. Lily tried to negotiate. He laughed and left. By Thursday, the upstairs looked like a hospital waiting room after a fire. Lily sat on the stairs and cried into a towel. Mom brought tea. Dad stared at me like a problem he couldn't solve. I stood with my back against the wall and felt impossible relief. I packed in pieces. 6 boxes, Monday for Tuesday. 3 big trash bags, Wednesday. I labeled each box like a person who plans to see them again. I found a list of Lily's old Friday paybacks in a notebook. $1,200, $600, $350, $90. I put the paper in the trash, then took it out, then put it back in. Let go, I told myself, or at least don't carry it to the new place. When the reinspection came, the upstairs fans still vented to the attic. The inspector frowned. 15 more days, he said to Lily. After that, it's a fine. Lily glared at him like the calendar was his fault. That night, Dad cornered me at the bottom of the stairs. We can fix this if you stop being stubborn, he said. I'm stopping a lot of things, I said. Stubborn isn't one. He opened his mouth to say the speech he always says. I raised a hand. Email. Mom called and left a voicemail. "I miss you," she said. "Your father is difficult. Lily is Lily. Please don't leave like this." I listened twice. I didn't call back. I texted, "I'll come Sunday for dinner. No money talk." She sent a heart, then promise. I sent promise. Sunday dinner. We tried silence. It cracked. Dad started to talk about what's fair. I stood, put my plate in the sink, and said, "Email." He almost threw his fork. I left early, walked home through warm air that smelled like cut grass, and realized I'd called the studio home in my head. On July 30th, I rolled my last box out. I took one final photo, the hallway light throwing a gold triangle on the floor. Lily stood on the porch with a clipboard, hair pulled back, eyes tired. "You're really leaving?" she said, like it had never occurred to her that I might. "Yes," I said. She frowned. "I thought you'd fight to stay." "I did," I said, "just not the way you wanted." The studio above the barber shop is small. The oven makes a clicking sound when it preheats. The neighbor plays soft jazz on Sundays. The window faces brick, so the light is always filtered like morning. I set up a cheap desk in a plant I named Also Madeline. It lives. I build a new routine that feels like a promise I make to myself. Out the door at 7:15, coffee from the bakery where they know my name by the second week. Shift at the hospital. After work, a 20-minute walk. Sometimes I read, sometimes I fix nothing. The first week, I counted the missed calls. 27. Then it went down. 12. Then 4. Now it's one every few days from Mom. A photo of a casserole, a picture of the cat. I answer those. I don't answer the group chat if it contains the word Bill. My thumb hovers. It moves away. I breathe. Money feels different now. It's not a test I have to pass. It's just days and hours turned into groceries and rent. I set up an automatic transfer to a savings account named Not an Emergency. I send $50 every Friday. It's small. It's mine. Lily texted me a photo last week of the upstairs with new paint. "We fixed the fan," she wrote. "Travis says we're pivoting to long form." I wrote back, "Good luck." She sent a thumbs up. It didn't cost me anything. Dad hasn't apologized. He might never. He sent one email. "We did what we thought was best for the family." I wrote, "I know. I did too." He didn't reply. People think closure is a door slamming. It's not. It's learning which doors you don't walk through anymore. If you ask me what I got out of this, I'd say I got myself. I got the knowledge that I don't have to be the floor everyone stands on. I can be a wall. I can be a door. I can be a person who says, "Email me," and then lives a life that isn't a reaction to everyone else's emergency. This isn't revenge. This is boundaries. It's looking at a bill and asking, "Is this mine?" If it is, I pay it. If it isn't, I don't. That sentence is the moral I wish I'd learned at 9 in the hardware store. My name is Madeline. I'm 31. I hold lines that belong to me, and I'm done holding lines that don't.